everybody. Welcome to Beer with the Boss. That's right. This is a podcast where an employee and his boss have a beer together and talk about technology. We can also talk about other things. So leave your comments. Let us know what you want us to talk about in the comment section of this platform you're listening to this podcast at, or click the link in the description and go to our social media and let us know what you think of this episode. I'm Rodrigo Matos and I work at Webeta, and today here with me is my boss, Joel Zamboni. He's the CEO at Webeta. How's it going, Joel? And please tell me, what beer are you drinking today?
Well, thank you, Rodrigo, for introducing the podcast. Hello, everybody. I really appreciate you joining us today. Yeah. So let's talk about something very important today, beer again. So today I'm drinking an Old Speckle Hen, which is a British beer, or from England, which I have a very curious story about this. So the guy who brought me to US, Larry, my first boss in US, we actually drink this beer back in Brazil in a pub that I love called Males or Males. The funny thing is that he liked this beer with the taste that originally have in England, which is not the same one that you have here in US.
Oh.
So there's a little difference. Here is a little bit softer, he told me. But yeah, I never drink it here on tap. I just have it on can. So, and every time, like, we went to that place for lunch or dinner or something like that, and he usually like to drink this beer because remember he lived for a while in England. So made him remember from the time that he was living in England and the taste and the flavors. People say that the now is the thing that make us remember more things.
Yeah, it brings you back to specific memories, right?
How about you? What is the beer you're drinking?
So I'm drinking an IPA from a brewery called Patagonia. It's an Argentinian brewery, but I just found out that this one I'm drinking is actually brewed in Brazil. So yeah, it's I love Patagonia. They have very different types of beer, and here in Brazil, we usually say that things from Argentina are not the best, but I'm not that kind of Brazilian. I kind of like things from Argentina, so I like this beer very much.
Everybody knows that, like, people from Argentina say that everything from them is the best. So
yeah, the beer is good, the beef is good, yeah, and the people are nice as well. It's just we're brothers here. It's just the joke.
This we don't like about the soccer thing, so there is competition. Yeah, so I mean they compete with us. We're not really, but
we just yeah. But anyway. So the idea today is for us to talk a little bit about remote work, right? And well, I have to ask you a question as the founder of a company that is 100% remote since day one. Did anybody in the past, when you first founded Webeta, told you, are you crazy? Like 100% remote? That's never going to work. Did anybody ever told you that?
At the beginning, people say like, "You crazy? It's not going to work. You have to be on the back of the people working for you." And then came the pandemic, and then you're not wrong. Start something like that. Yeah. So it was like where I was starting like 3 years before the pandemic popped in, but the idea was like having a remote, and the basic principle that I applied is like. When I was building a data center in Brazil, I used to work on a company called Nextel, and I built a data center, like the infrastructure of the data center, and it was literally like 4 blocks from my house. And I had to drive 8 miles to work on that data center, on the machines that were inside of the data center, which didn't make any sense to me. It was like I had to use this hour and a half in heavy traffic in Sao Paulo, which is a big city, and go to sit in a place to work on a machine that's literally close to my home. So it was like when I build a company, we have to be a remote company where people don't have to, since we are able to, right? We are knowledge work with capability of work remotely. Now we are recording this podcast like you're on one side of the globe, I'm on the other side of the globe, and we
Yeah.
can drink our beer and talk. We have all the process. We still learning every day. But I think it's like companies in the past, like you get like Basecamp, they have a good book called Remote Work, and then it's like every problem. Like you decide, okay, I will choose my battles, right? So my battle is, what do I have to do to make remote work work? Do I have to install a remote monitoring thing on each machine and be like a bad people who you crazy, oh, people are watching movies or things like that? Or do I try to be more focused on results and well-being and people having good relations with the work, with people that work together? So there's all these things that you have to balance and select which ones you fight, right? Which are your battles. Like, it's not like we joke internally that I send the mugs to people and then we have a camera installed in the
Yeah.
mugs, right? Which we can say, and we everybody plays with that because people know that we will never do something like that. So people trust in this. So yeah. But yes, people call me crazy, but now it's everybody's trying to figure out something that we start earlier.
Have you ever considered like having like a hybrid type of company or anything, or no, you just like it's going to be remote and that's it?
One thing that I notice, and I've been learning, young people normally, which sometimes they didn't have any previous experience with Office. Some people they seems to need that beginning of job thing, but I
You
hope
mean in
with the
person?
pandemic, yeah, in person, yeah. So I hope the pandemic, the remote schooling, all those things help this new generation to understand that you can work remotely. But I saw this happening with some of our younger employees, which demand a little bit more of management, let's say, but not to be on remote, not to be like a full office, but to have someone to guide these young people. And
Mhm.
also, as you may see, some people here, they have this need to work from somewhere sometimes. So we kind of provide sometimes office for people to,
Yeah.
they don't have, they want to get out of the house or things like that. And some other people we don't need to provide, they keep walking, right? They are 1 month in one city, another month in another city or another country. There you go. So progressing, I think that's more likely to happen to people than to work from anywhere. There are other challenges with that, with the security, keep up with risks and things like that, time zones and all those. But I think we are figuring out this, and I hope when the company get really big, we are able to offer a more consistent process, which you already have, but I don't know if it scales yet. But yeah, I have to figure it out.
That's great. Yeah, myself as a person who always wanted to work remotely, and now I have this opportunity, sometimes I feel like, oh, I want to get out of the house. I want to go to a
Yeah.
co-working or somewhere. And then I go to a co-working and I think, oh, working from home is so good.
Yeah.
But it's good to go out sometimes. And the fact that we work remotely makes it possible for us to work whatever we want. You don't even need to go
Yeah.
to the same co-working every time. You spoke about like having to, give some people that initial trainment and onboarding on a company that is 100% remote. But I want to talk about the ongoing of a company that is 100% remote, such as Webeta. Did you rely on tools, and what kind of tools do you think are like very important for a company to have on their stack if they want to go remote?
The most important one, of course, is a suite of automation like G Suite or Google, or which is from Google, or Google Workspace is rebranded. Office 365, that's a good one. There, some people are using the Facebook one, which is also a newcomer, but I mean, there are many others. But having this space where all the information of the company lives, and having like an integrated chat is important, like either Slack or Google Chat or Teams. Have video, audio, right? People open the camera, those things. Is interesting thing. One of the things that we do at Webera, and when you are trying to open up these things. It's like we have these teams, right? And at Webera, because we're a remote company, one of our teams is collaboration, but we went further and we define what does mean collaboration. So you have to define for your company, what does it mean collaborate for you? In our case, as a tech company, means that you will code and do code reviews, and you will do this routinely. You, as a company who uses Scrum, you have to do daily or report what you're working for the daily stand-ups, or you have to show your progress of working on the demo or sprint reviews, right? So there's those interactions that you end up documenting them. So we have people know are opening the camera. We're not enforcing those things, but we are reminders. We have some of our clients who actually enforce open the camera. So you have to be in a meeting, you have to open the camera, and then they have things like many people do this, like Fridays camera off, where you don't need to turn on their camera on Fridays. So, but you have to be more the same way that you are in an office. You have a place to put the chairs, a place to put the meeting rooms, all those roles that people normally used to have in office, but they don't really write down. So when you move into a remote, you have to write down those small things that you normally see in the office, but they have different behaviors. So like you have to say to people, oh, you have to open your camera, or you have to write more, because we need to. Sometimes you don't want to go and bother a person who's working, so you write in a sync tool like Notion or Asana or something, and then people can get information when they really can work on or interact with you. So those are more of the things.
All right. And this is a silly question, but do you think it's easier? I guess it's very silly, but I'm going to ask you anyway. Do you think it's easier than for a company to be born or be founded as a 100% remote company than from a company to migrate to this type of work in terms of culture and employee engagement and this kind of things, or doesn't really make a difference?
Every change on this scale, right? If you have a company who's making a profit, making money, having happy people already, coming to a place to work, so change to a remote work is a challenge. But like in US, like in US and many other countries, you have to already have some parts of or be able to partially work remote. Like when you have problem with weather, like normally companies will allow you to work remotely. So you kind of have a little bit of infrastructure is just extending. So, and I think we improve employee satisfaction, all those things. Reduce traffic is greener, right? Like we don't have to travel much more, so you save gas, you save. So there are several benefits for the company, for the environment, for the people. It's just like you mentioned, like there's a cultural challenges. So like you have people used to come to work and see the reactions. Now they don't see the reactions. So those things you have to learn. So maybe a transition model where you go hybrid a couple days a week, you don't work from home, and then you go fully. There are people that want to push forward, but they maybe see challenging things that, I used to work once a week from home. Now I have every day of the week, and now my kids are here or something like that. So you have to balance out. So, but I don't see, so it's not a problem, full remote or full in the office. It's just you have to learn.
Awesome.
And experimenting what works for your company.
Awesome. And well, this is the question I really want to ask for us to finish. How do you think companies will address remote work or working remotely within the next 5 to 10 years? Do you have any idea, or how do you imagine that?
I think there are companies that will never be able to go remote, like manufacturing and things like that. It will be not ever, but like you can make components out of your house. Many companies do that. Like they have small, like we just visited a company they have labs and things like that at the house of the people, so they can elaborate components and things like that. But when you like making a car, like a Tesla or something, you cannot have the car going out of the houses for people to be built, right? So depends on the sizing. So there are jobs that are not supposed to be working from home, but I think whatever is possible, we should try to go. And also then support people who is not able to, right? So there will be jobs that unfortunately or fortunately we don't need to do, and then they will end up having more quality because there's less traffic, less because the people will not be that much going to work or things like that. So yeah, I think the future is remote work wherever is possible, and then if you are in jobs like, I don't know, oil, because you cannot move oil drill to your house.
Yeah, the wives wouldn't like as well, or whoever has. Yeah, it's like not a good idea.
Either you move your house to the drilling site, which is not good, not safe. Yes.
All right. Well, I don't have any more beer left, Joel. So thank you so much. I guess you still have some of yours because I didn't stop asking you questions. But we should definitely do this again. Thank you so much for chatting with me today, and well, thank you all for listening to us. We'll be back next week with a different topic and with different beers. And I'm curious to know what beers are you going to drink next week, Joel. Thank you, and please let us know what you thought of this episode in the comments, and see you all next week. Bye.
See you guys. See you next week. Bye-bye.